Today we shall be talking about the residential status of the assessee. When we file an ITR, we have to mention the residential status. There is a column to declare whether you are resident or you are non-resident. Now the question arises that even your income is taxable or not, which all income category we are talking about, this all depends upon the residential status. There are certain sections of income which are non-taxable for the non-resident Indians. Therefore, the determination of the residential status is very, very important. The people who live in Canada, they are called Canadians. The people who are living in Australia, they are called Australians. So we living in India, what is the residential status? It's very important. When we talk about this topic, the first step says that you decide whether you are a resident or you are a non-resident. So the residential status is bifurcated into two sections. The first is resident and the second is non-resident. The step which I'm talking about right now to decide residency or non-residency, there are two conditions which will be mentioned in the next slide. Please listen carefully that out of the mentioned two conditions, if you satisfy any one condition, then the assessee will be called resident. So, I will be telling you the two conditions, and if you satisfy any one condition, your status will be resident. Out of the two conditions, one condition needs to be satisfied to get the resident status. If no condition is satisfied, then you are non-resident. So either fulfill one condition and become resident, or if you are not able to fulfill any condition, out of the two conditions, your status will be non-resident. Now we will be talking that what are these two conditions. The first condition says that the assessee is in India for 182 days or more in the relevant previous year. Now, we are talking about the previous year. In that previous year, the assessee is supposed to be in India for a minimum of 182 days. This means he has to be in India for 182 days, or it can be more than 182 days, no worry. So, minimum of 182 days he has to be supposed to be in India for the relevant previous year. The second condition says that the assessee, he is in India for at least 60 days, for a minimum of 60 days, for 60 days or more in the relevant previous year. So, the year which is the previous year in which we are assessing the income, that relevant previous year, he should stay in India for a minimum of 60 days. And in the last 4 years, he should stay in India for 365 days or more. This means in the last 4 years, he is supposed to be in India for a minimum of 365 days. Either 365 days or more than 365 days. What you have to pay attention is the clause being used here is and, it is not or. So to fulfill the second condition, what is the second condition saying? The second condition is saying that you should be in India in the relevant previous year for a minimum of 60 days, and in the last 4 years, you should be in India for a minimum of 365 days. So these two sub clauses unite to make the second condition. Now, I repeat that what two conditions I mentioned, if any one of the condition is satisfied, your status will come out to be resident. Now, which condition you want to satisfy, it is up to you. You satisfy condition 1, very good, you become resident. You satisfy only condition B, the second condition, you become resident. So, both the conditions no need to satisfy. Any one condition you satisfy and you become resident. Now, if no condition is satisfied, the first condition not satisfied, the second condition not satisfied, you will become non-resident Indian. So I repeat that to become a resident, you have to satisfy any one condition out of the two conditions mentioned in the previous slide. To be a non-resident, you have to satisfy no condition out of the two conditions mentioned in the previous slide. Now, I repeat what I told you. The first condition, you have to be in India for 182 days or more. Okay. And the second stays that you have to be in India for more than 60 days. And I am stressing this word and. In the last 4 years, you have to be in India for more than 365 days. Now, we will be picking one by one. When I talk about the first statement given here, you live in India for 182 days or more, you become a resident. Very good. No need to go to the second condition if your first condition is fulfilled. You automatically become a resident if you fulfill the first condition that you live in India for 182 days or more. But if the first condition is not fulfilled, if you live in India for less than 182 days in the relevant previous year, then you have to go to the second condition. If your first condition is fulfilled, please don't go to the second condition. First condition fulfilled, automatically you become resident. Okay, done. But if your first condition is not fulfilled, then please come to the second condition. You have to be in India for more than 60 days in the relevant previous year, and it is and 365 days or more in the last 4 years. If you fulfill this second condition, then you become a resident. Okay, so the two conditions, they are very clear that you fulfill one condition and you become resident. Either you fulfill the second condition, you become a resident. But if you don't fulfill the first condition, you don't fulfill the second condition, then you will become non-resident. But in this slide, I think it is very clear to you. First, pick up the first condition of 182 days. If you are satisfying this condition, you become a resident. Then no need to go to the second condition. If the first condition is not fulfilled, then come to the second condition. If this second condition is fulfilled, then you become resident. Okay. Now, in this slide, I'll be tell you when you will become non-resident. Okay. Now, in this case, the assessee is in India for more than 182 days. This condition not fulfilled. Second condition, which is clause of 2 lines. Okay. You are not in India for more than 160 days. Assessee in India for 60 days or more in this year and 365 days or more in the past 4 years. This condition also not fulfilled. If none of the above two conditions is satisfied, then you become non-resident. Then you will come in the category of non-resident Indian if no condition out of these two conditions is satisfied. Now, by now you will be understanding how to make out resident and non-resident. Now, supposingly you become a resident. Then you have to decide that whether you are a resident and ordinary resident or you are a resident and not ordinary resident. So, resident category is subdivided into two parts. First is the ordinary resident and the second part is the not ordinary resident. Now, I have another set of two conditions to calculate the ordinary resident and not ordinary resident. These two conditions have nothing to do with the first set of conditions explained to you so far. So please don't mix up these two conditions with those two conditions. First of all, learn those two conditions and be very clear and then come to this slide. Now, again I am having two conditions. The first condition says that the assessee, he is in India for at least 2 years out of 10 years. So in the past 10 years, he is supposed to be in India for 2 years or more. It can be 2 years, okay. It can be more than 2 years, okay. This line means that in the last 10 years, your 2 years status should be of resident. Your 2-year status out of the last 10 years, the status should be resident. This is the first condition. The second condition states that the assessee is in India for 732 days or more in the last 7 years. We are talking about the last 7 years. In those 7 years, he is supposed to be in India for minimum of 730 days. This means 730 days or more than 730 days. This is the second condition. Now, the first condition I told you, at least 2 years out of the last 10 years, he is in India. And the second condition states that in the previous 7 years, he is supposed to be in India for a minimum of 730 days. Please listen very carefully. If you satisfy both the conditions, then you are resident and ordinary resident. You have to satisfy first condition and you have to satisfy the second condition to become a resident and ordinary resident. If you satisfy only one condition, then you are not ordinary resident. If you satisfy no condition out of the two conditions mentioned in this slide, then you are not ordinary resident. So, to be an ordinary resident, first of all, you have to be a resident, and after that, you have to satisfy both these conditions. If you satisfy these two conditions, then you are resident and ordinary resident. If you satisfy any one condition out of the given two conditions, then you are not ordinary resident. And if you satisfy no condition out of the two conditions mentioned above, then again you are not ordinary resident. So here I come to the end of the article. I hope I have made the things very clear to you. In case you have any doubt, please feel free to ask me in the comment section. In case you want to give me any suggestion, you are more than welcome. Please write it in the comment section. Do like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay blessed.